Welcome to Purpose Living Podcast, where we are training to do life God's way. And today we have another brand new episode for you. Hopefully this one will help you and continue to grow and also give you some value or just poke some curiosity out of your mind. So today's title is what?
When you feel like you failed. So if you've ever been and wanted to accomplish a goal or just anything in life, or maybe it's even just as a parent or as whatever kind of situation, we just want to talk about like when you feel like you are failing and you just kind of want to give up and it feels overwhelming. Just questions to start to prompt ourselves. So 5 questions that we have, because oftentimes we're not actually failing. It just feels like that, and we can feel that weight of, oh, I just messed this up. But there's always value in that, and so we wanted to go through 5 questions with you today to kind of start that. So the first question.
Before we go there,
yes, sir.
I want to ask you this question.
Yes.
In your, what is the definition of failure?
Well, the real definition of failure, or
give us both sides.
Okay.
Because I think it's a good thing for us to talk about that, right? And I think it will help our listeners to understand these 5 questions, that what direction we're trying to come from when we give them a good understanding of where we're coming from.
So I think one way to look at failure is I missed the mark of whatever the expectation was.
Yep.
And then another, way to kind of look at it is failure is just an opportunity to learn and grow and find out that's one way it didn't work. Now let's figure out a way that it is going to work. So it works for you, failure does, but it's just missing that expectation of what was set either by you or by somebody else.
And I love that part. The last part you talked about it is working for you, right? It's going to open an opportunity for you to learn something new, right? So, all right, I was just making sure everybody knows what we're talking about.
All right, perfect. So the first question is, if you feel like that, did you actually fail, or were you just not perfect? So that kind of comes with the expectations that we were talking about, of like who is measuring or who is setting these expectations. Like, is it a test that we failed, or is it we did something and we felt like a failure because we had a standard that we didn't reach? And so kind of asking ourselves, and I think for me, I can be hard on myself, and because I think it should look like a certain way, and if it didn't reach that certain way, then it feels like a failure, but actually it just wasn't the standard of what I know could be my absolute best, but we can't always perform at our absolute best. And so finding that grace, and just was this actually a failure, or was it just not like the perfect standard that whoever says that it should actually look like?
Yeah, that is super crucial, what you just said. For a lot of us, for me personally, just sharing with people, it is coming to the understanding that people are going to have their expectations, right? And like, for example, if you go to work, there's a certain expectation for you to do what you're supposed to do, which is just do your job and do it well, right? And then on the top of our heads, we're thinking to ourselves that there's also this expectation that we put on ourselves that if we do it to the level that we're expected to do, and we don't surpass that, some people will view that as failure, which is not true. It's just something that we're just putting in our heads to think that we're falling short. So for me, whatever the expectation is where I want to go. Now, down the road, if you want to achieve something that is way beyond what you want to do, then you push yourself past that. And hopefully we'll talk about that down the road. But I think for a lot of people, having the expectations, it has to be realistic with who you are, right? And don't be bogged down on the base of what other people's expectations are. Know what your abilities are. And being honest with yourself and being honest with other people that might have some kind of expectations, and going in and having a conversation with people and saying, hey, listen, I know this is what the expectations are. Maybe you have not been trained to do this. Maybe, hey, you're not ready to run that 5K yet. Let's start with walking, right? Certain things like that is just being realistic with yourself and having a conversation with other people that you might be working with to help you understand, okay, maybe I can get to this level, and maybe the other person that I'm working with will move it to the next level.
And two areas that I kind of hear it a lot with like coaching clients is one is like if, let's say, they have a health goal that they're wanting to reach, if they had one bad moment and fell into the pantry and ate things that they knew they didn't want to eat, they felt like a failure.
Yeah.
But they're not a failure. It was a moment and they had a lot of actual wins. And so recognizing that. And the second I hear a lot is in parenting, where like if we have one moment where we get stressed out and yell at our kids, we feel like we're a bad mom or we feel like we're a bad dad. And no, we're not a bad mom or a bad dad. It was a weak moment. And so it just, because it wasn't perfect, doesn't mean that it was a failure. So those are two I definitely hear reoccurring a lot.
Yeah.
The second question to ask yourself is, what am I meant to learn? So if we didn't maybe reach that expectation that we or somebody else set, was there anything that I could learn so that way like I can keep growing and developing in it?
Yeah, I think this is super important for us because it will give us a good blueprint of where we're trying to go to, right? And it will help us stay curious and stay motivated in, okay, maybe I've not hit the mark at this moment. What can I go back and look at and ask myself, what did I miss? Or what can I do better? Right? You're just kind of continuing. You're trying to keep the momentum moving on your side and keep you thinking. So, what am I meant to learn from this situation? Right? A lot of times, and that's why I love the way that you put it. Failure is happening for us. It's not happening to us, right? It's happening for us because it teaches us something. And if you look at it from that perspective, you are allowing yourself to have an opportunity to basically kind of journey through something that you might have a good sense of what's happening, but you might go even deeper to help you to get another level of motivation to keep you moving towards what your goals or what your purpose is and what you're trying to achieve. So I think when you ask yourself those questions, you're allowing room to be curious and to find solutions rather than just being reactive in what is happening to you.
Yeah. And I'd say for me, like every time that I felt like I failed and I took the time to see what I could learn, I'm so glad because it forced me to want to learn.
Yeah.
It forced me to dig in, like even the whole parenting or, marriage or whatever I felt like there was a miss, it was like, okay, that's a cue for me that I need to learn how to grow here. Because I'm missing something and I'm not understanding or seeing something because it's a reoccurring thing that I'm stuck at. And so, okay, what am I supposed to learn in this moment? And without recognizing it, then we just stay stuck. But as soon as we recognize it and say, how can I learn? It helps propel us and move us forward.
So staying on that topic, what are some ways that will help you recognize it? Right, because some people it's not natural for them to see it happen right in front of them. So, what are certain things, what are certain cues that for you works for you to recognize? Hey, this is not happening to me. This is not here to pound me. This is to help me grow.
Yeah, if I feel like off, let's just say like if I feel like some anxiety coming on or some different things, it's a trigger for me to say like take that pause. Like it's okay. Something's spinning and it's not meant to spin. I'm supposed to be learning something right here. I don't want to waste this moment. So for me, that's what it is a lot. If I feel like any kind of worry or any kind of like anxiety come on, it's just an instant cue. First, that I need to pray, and second, there's something that I'm supposed to learn right here.
Yeah. And for me, when it becomes stronger and stronger and stronger, and I'm struggling. And I'm forcing myself to learn to figure it out. That's when I know I'm supposed to learn something, Like, if I'm fighting it every single time, if I keep fighting it, and I'm not like getting it, just like you, that means slow down. You're missing something.
Yep.
Slow down and go back and look where you started, from where you started, and see what did you miss down the road. And when I do that, I usually get that clarity.
Yeah. Yep, I'm fighting in my own strength. That's thanks you. And the third is this goal or whatever I felt like I failed at, is it actually still important to me? Like, am I supposed to keep persisting in it? For example, it could be, like you said before, like I would say somebody wanted to run a 5K and they realized, you know what? I don't actually care if I run a 5K. Like, I might need to just shift what I'm going for. For me, one time I was like, I am going to be able to rock pull-ups and be able to do these so good. But I set that as a goal. And then I didn't really train for it, and I still can't do them. So clearly, it's not that important to me. So it's a shift. Or it could even be in a career where you were following a path and you felt like, okay, this is what I have to do. And then you felt like it wasn't working perfectly. You maybe didn't fail. Maybe it's the season of shifting and kind of understanding.
And that was exactly what I was going to go to.
Yeah.
So I'll kind of share it's just our life story, right? Me being in the coaching track and field, I've been doing that for so long. My wife, she started with personal training, and then she started a health business, which was super successful. She was good at what she does, but there comes a season that she was doing everything that she could. She was doing everything. She still has the passion for it, right? She still had the passion to help people in that environment. But at the same time, it was a moment that she had to ask herself that question of, okay, is this still important to me? And am I meant to keep going here? And that is the second part, is a crucial part. Am I meant to keep going here, right? The part that of helping people find their success in their health journey, that was still something that is still important to my wife, right? But I guess both of us. It's still important for both of us because we were kind of working inside of us. Like, she did most of the work, I just kind of followed. But, you know, at that moment, she had to ask herself, am I meant to keep going here? Guess what? That's where this came, right? She had it a long time ago, but at the same time, for us, that was a question that we had to ask ourselves. For me, coaching track and field, am I meant to keep going in this thing that God has placed in my heart for both of us? And we came to the conclusion that, you know, for her personally, that was still something that is still important, because it's still the same thing that we're doing with purpose living, only that we're covering a holistic view of your wellness and well-being. So, and for me, my story is more so of, okay, God, I sat down, had a conversation with God. Okay, God, do you need me to do, is it for me to stay in this right now and keep going? And of course, yeah, we had other things that we had to do as a family, decisions that we have to make as a family. But, you know, I felt like at that moment, God wanted me to take time away from track. So I took about 8 months away from track. And my prayer was, okay, God, if you want me to get back into it, because I was kind of battling back and forth. If you want me to get back into it, then open the door. If you don't, something else will come into fruition, right? And surely enough, the opportunity came for me to stay in track, and I'm doing that right now. For my wife, same thing. Okay, God, if this is what you want us to do, fully, well, make it happen. And I'm not kidding you. Many different things that have happened, I think, clarified or verified that this is what my wife is supposed to be doing, right? And so it is still what she was doing before is still important to her, helping people find a good health in their health journey, being successful in that. But at the same time, that was the environment that she was in. That was not the environment that she was supposed to be in at that moment. It's time for her to move on. And lo and behold, purpose living, here we are. So.
Yeah, and just kind of leaning into that and asking yourself, like, am the goals that I have set for myself, like, are they truly my priority and still important to me? Because sometimes we can try to force something and then it will never, you won't have a peace in it. because it will feel like it's just like this forced thing that you're trying to make happen, versus there's going to be challenges no matter what, but like that it should be where, okay, like I maybe I missed the mark here, but I am committed to keep going. Like I'm committed to still keep learning and growing and doing what I need to do in order to reach whatever that might be.
Yeah, and I think this is why it is super important that your foundation needs to be solid in your faith, right? Because for us, we didn't make that decision based off what we think or what we know. That was not it. Like God was the foundation of every single thing that the way we made the decision, the praying, everything that we're doing, it was all God's doing to help us find that clarity. And when you're in that, I want to say in that valley, just ask God, or the mountaintop, just ask God, because for some of us, for me personally, I will share with you guys, like the opportunities, the jobs were open for me to take. But at the same time, I was just trying to listen to what God wants me to do in that moment. And, you forcing it to stay where you are at based on what you're listening to yourself versus listening to what God is telling you. For me, it drove me a little bit, it made me a little bit miserable because I was not getting the fulfillment that I need in that moment. But the moment that I allow God, I'm like, okay, God, you know what? This is, you created me and you want me to do this. So show me. Am I supposed to keep going in this route that you have me in? Or do you want me to take a time away and just kind of focus on what you want us to do?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it doesn't make it easy.
No.
Like walking in faith and asking God to put you in the center of his will and asking him to lead and direct your path. Like it doesn't make it easy, but it makes it where there's a different okay, even though it's hard, I know I'm not alone, and I know God is with me and he's for me, and even if I miss it, he's going to correct me and keep showing me. And there's a internal peace and joy in knowing that you're doing that.
Yeah. That
nothing else can ever give you. But the journey of it isn't like all sunshine and rainbows. There's lots of trials that come with it, but you know deep in your heart that it's worth it and you got to keep going.
Yep.
So which leads to number 4. Are there any thought traps or limiting beliefs that you need to let go of that's kind of gripping you, making you feel like you failed? Like, is anything holding you back that makes you feel like you're just stuck and that you're failing as a wife or as a mom or in your health journey or in your finances or even in your walk with God? Is there anything that's kind of holding you back and keeping you stuck that you're believing about yourself and that you're gripping so that you don't actually see yourself the way God sees you and the potential that you have when you're following his path and purpose for you?
Yes. And this it goes back to the story that I was sharing with you all, and it was for me the limiting beliefs and the trap that I was in my head was, you know what, I've worked so hard to get to this point because it was something scratch that but God has blessed me with, and I have been faithful and resilient through it all, and now I felt like I was giving up on it, and I was not and the other part is just okay, now you do this, why did you even decide to do this and do that and all these things to help you get to where you need to get to? That was the limiting thing that I have in my head, which they were not true, right? All of them, yes, God gave me the ability to work hard towards all those things and reaching where I reached, but at the same time, God is also going to open the door for me to do what he truly wants me to. And it's not that I can't take, and that's one of the things that we all got to really think about. Just because you're leaving a setting, place that you've been for so long, doesn't mean you can't take those skills that you learned in that place and use it in a different place, right? You can always take that and use it in a different place. It's just, how can you ask yourself the question of, okay, how can I use what I have learned here over here? to help this new opportunity that I have become better.
Yeah. Yep. And that can go into anything, just even in our personal life too. Like, let's pretend that you are wanting to like get your finances in order and you feel like you have failed there. Do you have a limiting belief or a thought trap of like, oh, I'm always just going to be in debt, like I just want to give up on this whole thing? Like that would be something to be aware of, so that way we can let go of that limiting belief and ask, how can I? How can I keep going? How can I keep fighting for it? Or it could be where, you know, you're feeling like a failure as a parent. Like, is that true? Are you actually a failure? Or is that a lie you need to let go of? And you are growing as a mom or as a dad. Your faith walk with God. Like, oh, I feel like a failure because I only pray when I need something and I'm not actually committed to walking with Him. Okay, so is that a limiting belief that you're living out? Do we need to let go of that and say, okay, how can I grow in my relationship with God? How can I be more committed to growing my faith? In any area of life, really looking at, is there any thoughts that I'm keeping and holding on to that I need to let go of so that I can actually grow in whatever it is that I'm working towards?
Yeah, and here's that. We're not saying that some of the things that you're feeling or some of the things that you're thinking is not valid. They're absolutely valid. All right, but what we're trying to help with is, okay, are you dwelling in those things, in those moments, or are you trying to find solutions to those moments that you're having? Because if you're just dwelling in them, then there's no solution to it. You're just sitting in one place. But if you're able to find solutions, which will help you let go of those things, of those limiting beliefs and those traps and all those doubts that you're going to have, then, you know, you're going to find you'll be in a better place, right? So it's just learning how to let go of those things and not dwell in them. Because, yeah, absolutely, some of the things that you were thinking, they're valid. But you gotta find a way to validate those things and then move on with your life. If not, you're just gonna feel like you're stagnant in one place.
Yeah, and if you're feeling like stuck or you have like reoccurring thoughts or anxiety over something, that's typically like just an alarm, you know, going off. That's signaling, okay, I need to start to look at this and start to ask myself some questions. Maybe that's where I need to, you know, have a coach or have somebody that I trust to come alongside me. Because when you're in your own head and it just spins, it's hard to get out of it. But when we can actually like bring it to the light, have the conversation, be able to even gain a different perspective from somebody that you trust, that's going to tell you what you need to hear, not just what you want to hear, that helps a lot. Because sometimes when we actually speak the thoughts, like, no, and that doesn't even make any sense, you know, or at least I've had those thoughts before.
I have them too.
Yes. So number 5 is, how can I keep improving? So none of us are perfect. We're all far from perfect. So always challenging ourselves of, if I feel like I failed, what steps can I take to actually start to improve on whatever it is I feel like I haven't reached my potential in. So wanting to reach our potential and wanting to continue to grow is a good thing. But if it leads into where we feel like we have to be perfect and a certain thing where it's almost crippling, then we got to kind of catch that. But seeking growth and wanting to improve helps us to know that, you know what, it keeps us humble, knowing that none of us are perfect and we all are in this journey. And it keeps us, we're either moving forward or we're moving backwards. So if we aren't looking to improve, we typically just get complacent, start living on autopilot, survival mode, and just living just in that space. If we're saying, okay, how can I just improve a little bit today in one thing, then it keeps us like energized and focused. And when we're working towards something, we naturally have more energy than if we just kind of feel like we're complacent and just going through the motions.
Yeah, absolutely. And another place that you can go to is www.
Purpose living.
Coach. You get some resources out there.
Yeah, and honestly, like if you ever are in that stuck place or you're ever feeling like maybe you want to reach some goals and you just need that direction and you need that guidance to come alongside you, that's where our one-on-one coaching may be a perfect fit, because we actually get to make it personalized just for you, where you're able to see, okay, what is it? What area, body, mind, spirit, relationships, finances, what area or areas am I working on? What do I want to accomplish? And like dive into that process of taking the next best step, but then also having accountability to follow through, because it's so easy to like say, okay, I want to do this, and then without that accountability partner, we don't really do it. And so that's where I find coaching to be very beneficial.
Purposeliving.coach. That's why we exist. And to be honest with you, it's that's why I love the idea of having a one-on-one coach, because you have somebody that will hold you accountable, right? And our goal and what God bestowed on us is to come alongside people and work side by side with people, right? We're not just going to kind of give you a, hey, here's this pamphlet.
Yeah.
Go figure it out. If you have any problems, come talk to us. No, we're here to work with you side by side to help you find improvements in whatever ways that we can, right? So, when it comes to like, how can I keep improving? You just got to have a curious mind and ask questions, right? Having a coach that you can come to and have conversation with and just ask questions is the best thing for anybody. That's for me personally, that's how I try to do that, right? I read books and I ask questions about them. I have other people in my circle that I can always go to and ask questions. Hey, what is your thoughts about this and this and this and that? Another way is you can join groups or something. If you have a group in your church, and you can just go there and have questions that you might need some answers to, and go and ask questions in those groups. So there are many ways for you to keep improving, but the biggest thing for me, I would say, finding a coaching like for what we do, and just invest in that. Invest in that is an investment. It's not something that is not gonna give back to you. So invest on it and just keep working on it, because those people are going to keep you accountable versus if you try to do it by yourself. It's like, if you think about it, January comes around, everybody's ready to go. You get in the gym, you're doing it on your own. You don't have a personal trainer, right? Well, 3 weeks down the road, you're like, I don't feel like coming. But if you're investing in it, if you have meat in the game, you're like, all right, I need to get up, I need to go make it work. So that's the best way for you, finding a coach that will help you do that, and that is what we exist for, and just trying to improve people's lives.
Yeah. And you're not a failure. You are a child of God who is fully equipped and prepared. You just need to keep on fighting through and allow God to use your life to fulfill your purpose. So we are
Purpose Living
Coaching, training to do life God's way.